Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the podcast that talks about the sport of triathlon, which is, in fact, three sports in one. My name is Tim Ford. That is James Bale. This is Talking Triathlon. Jimbo, how you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. It's we're making our way through the week. It's been a busy one. I know that swearing that early isn't that great for the
We're gonna
YouTube
get,
algorithm,
yeah, I was
but
gonna say we're gonna get
we're gonna get
demonetized now,
we're
mate.
gonna get demonetized. You might have to bleep me.
I think I
I've
will
just had
actually.
I've had a really, really busy week. It's particularly today has been dramatically busy. I've only just settled down, and it's gone 9 o'clock in the evening, and it's time to record a podcast. How are you, mate?
Nope, good, thanks. All good here. It's yeah, just another week in paradise. We finally have the British Olympic team has been announced. I think we joked last week that was going to happen between when we recorded and then when you sat down with Tim O'Donnell. We were incorrect. It took another week beyond there,
Yeah, it did.
but we've been there. But uh, I am gonna have a bit of a rant, James Bale.
Oh no.
I've got to get something off my chest, and I'm gonna do it early, mate.
Is this going to be before we get into the actual meat of the pro
Mm.
triathlon
Well, this
world?
is this is very far removed from pro triathlon news, mate. This is very much age group triathlon related, which is why I'll put it at the start, and hopefully it doesn't go too long. But I participated in Cairns 70.3 over the weekend up in that
How did
the
you go, mate?
terribly. I nearly I actually don't know. I've had to go to the doctors this week. I nearly passed out at the first aid station on the run. Spent like
Yeah,
15 minutes
because
in.
I was confused, man. Because I looked at your times and I was like, good swim time, solid bike time, and then the run time was like
Shit.
it's like a bad run time for me at
Mm.
70.3. And I was like, Jesus, what happened?
Again, I've got off the bike and felt pretty good actually. I think my first K was like 4 minutes. I was like, good, that's where I want it to be. And then I got to an aid station. I tried to grab a cup and I kept missing. Like I couldn't. So I actually stopped because I was trying to get this fucking cup. And they said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I just nearly fell over.
Fuck.
And they caught me and they said, "Oh, you need to sit down." I said, "I'm fucking racing. I'm not sitting down." They said, "No, no. If you don't sit down, you're gonna fall over and we can't catch you." So they sat me down. The medics came over, fucking strapped. I had like 16 things strapped to my chest and things on my finger, and they pricked me and measured my blood sugar and everything. And I was there for about, yeah, 15, 20 minutes or something. They weren't sure what, like they did ECG tests and stuff. They think it was probably dehydration, even though it didn't feel that hot. But anyway, I got on with it. Just
Had you been drinking and
prob-
normal service and all that?
probably not as much as I should have, I think, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think I drank enough. That's probably a big part of it. But you know, got through it. A few more dizzy spells during the race, but limped home.
So did you just, when you resumed running, did you just completely take the effort out and just cruise it?
Yes and no. I think I sort of had to because the dizziness came back a few times. I had to stop a few times, and then by the end I was just fucked. I think. Yeah, it wasn't great, but got through it. Another non-DNF, but that's not what I want to talk about, mate. Because I have a frustration, and I know that the majority of our listeners are amateur triathletes, and I'm going to talk to you all directly now. Uh, what the fuck is going on with drafting in age group racing, mate? Like, it is it is out of control. I could not believe what I fucking saw on the weekend. I mean, look, I have not raced in Australia, and I'm not saying this is I know this is a problem around the world, but I have not really done a 70.3 where I've probably been a bit further back. I got sort of swamped at the swim start. I had to start a lot further back than I probably would have liked. But my God, man, I got passed by some packs. And I mean pelotons of riders who were two 2 meters behind each other. The absolute worst thing I saw, like the worst thing I saw was a group of six guys past me, and the one on the back kept looking over his shoulder. And then when a marshal came, screamed out, "Marshal, Marshal, Marshal." So they all spaced out to give themselves room. I saw groups with, and again, I saw groups with people in that I've then seen on social media boasting about their bike splits and stuff. Uh, One group passed me, and then again, I don't want to draft, mate. So I would drop back what is it, 15, 12 meters or whatever. And then people just kept fucking slotting in front of me. So you just keep going, you sit up. See, at one point, I think I went from got passed by like a group, this peloton of seven, and within a couple, there was 15 people in front of me. And I just don't get it. Like, it's a non-drafting sport, guys. So just don't do it. Just don't cheat.
Yeah.
Just don't cheat.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I haven't done a 70.3 since Bahrain in 2019, but there was one I did in 2017 in the UK that was like that. And it was
fucking hell.
packs and packs of people. And I would sit off the back of them to try and you maintain the 10 meters, but you can still feel the effect, even at 10 meters off a pack that size. It was like, and then at one point I tried to get past this huge pack and drop them because I was getting so fed up with it, but I couldn't, obviously, because then as soon as you go past them, they start reeling you in. It's disappointing. It's a very strange thing because the sport is such an individual endeavor and you train so hard, normally on your own a lot of the time, and you want to go and race and find out what you're capable of on that day. But if you just go to turn up to fuck with the results to that extent, where you've got, like you say, Jimmy the twat sitting on the back shouting Marshall every time he sees a Marshall, and they're working together as people that know each other and are like a little unit. And it's such a strange falsification of a result because we know
I
how much difference a pace line makes on a bike. It makes a huge difference. And you're ending up and you're looking at yourself in the mirror at the end of that race. How do you sleep that night?
I don't think
It's not real.
I honestly don't think they even care, mate. Like I said, there were people that I know who they are because I know them on social media, and I've seen them bragging about their result afterwards, and I'm like, you were in that. I know you. I looked at you. You tried to pass me up a climb, couldn't, and then like I know I saw you doing it. Now you're talking about, oh, I had the second fastest bike. Come on, man. Like, and again, not all men, some women. Like, it really. God, it just annoyed me. And it gets in the way of your race because you're right, right? Like the biggest struggle is like, look, I'm a pretty strong cyclist. Like, I can hold decent watts. But you get to a point where, yeah, I can't overtake 20 people and then drop them because they're just going to ride back up to me again. And all the other, yeah, mate, I just want to say, listen,
Yeah.
it's not, I understand we like to brag about our times, all right? But that's not the point of it. Your mates at work, your family, they don't give a fuck about your 70.3 time. I know it's important to us. I know it. I get it. I'm very passionate about my PBs as well. But fucking hell, just like let's just get back to actually non-draft racing because man, it really sort of ruined it for me a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No, I hear
was
you. I feel your pain. That one that I had that was terrible. It's like the pack isn't going quite fast enough for you to settle in. So you're always off the back, sitting up, trying to maintain a distance, but you can't get past them because as soon as you go
and
past
then
them, it
they slot
activates.
in and they slot in so
Yeah.
you're trying to leave the legal gap. But because to them the gap's 2 meters, they then see a spot, so they hop in front of it, and you just that's what again. I get not everybody does it intentionally. You can, but it's that sort of shit. It's like don't slot in.
Did you get a bit vocal with anyone?
Oh yeah, mate. Have you seen the have you seen the
Yeah.
post I put up on Instagram?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Actually I can't believe the camera caught that moment, to be honest, because I that was like that wasn't a pack. That was two guys who were like literally one was riding on the others, and it's not the guy in the front's fault. But I remember riding past and like doing a double take, and I just looked at him and I said like it's a non-draft in race you C-bomb, and it's caught on camera. You can actually see the moment where you can see I'm looking at the guy, and then you can see the moment where I look away, just like shaking my head.
I mean,
But
you've proved your worth over the last few weeks with Photoshop. Surely a speech bubble can be added to that picture at some point and posted on our Instagram account because it needs to be there.
I did put up a thing like put in like a ask question on my Instagram, like what do you think I said? And some of the responses have been very, very good. I'm like, yeah, I should take some of those out and just create a series. But man, like, God, just anyway, Cairns was a wonderful location for race, and I put up a tweet about it. But I'd love to see them if they ever decide to truly rotate the Ironman World Champs rather than just Nice and Kona. I think Cairns would actually be a wonderful spot for a World Championship event. I mean, the logistics would be tough because of the separate transitions, but this, mate, the crowd support made me optimistic about the future of triathlon for the first time in a long time because I know that we've spoken a lot about how things do seem to be a bit tough for the sport at the moment, but mate, Cairns was absolutely pumping. Like there, during the Ironman, because again, the Ironman was happening at the same time. The number of supporters out just loving it was awesome to see. But we'll talk about the actual pro race and stuff a little bit later.
I'm
But
just having a look on a map to see where Cairns is. It
way
must
up
have taken you
north,
some time to get up there.
3 hours, 3 hour flight, I think, something like that.
You fly, did you?
Fuck yeah, man. It's like
What would a drive be?
3 or 4 days probably.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's probably what is it?
Yeah.
Probably 4,000 kilometers or something. That's a long way. Like
Okay.
it's the top of Australia. But yeah, just a like really cool place for a race, and the crowd support and everything was epic. So I'm a bit more up to.
One
I actually
day, 2 hours,
I
non-stop drive.
I entered another 70.3 at the airport afterwards. I got
Oh, which one's that? Which one have you gone for?
um Western Sydney 70.3 just because the timing. Again, I want to do some. I've obviously got 70.3 was at the end of the year, and I know I'm not sharp, so I'm just trying to squeeze in as many 70.3s as I can. But definitely got the fire
Was
back,
there
which
any
is good.
was there any post-race chat about the drafting? Do you know if anybody got penalized? Was there any?
Yeah. I spoke to a few of the apparently they've given out more penalties at this race than any other race they've ever marshaled, or like a lot of them, like there was a lot. Uh yeah, I mean, I even talking to some of the pros, they said they were going the other way, looking at some of the age groups, like what the fuck are these guys doing? And then yeah, plenty of other I mean, plenty of the responses I got on Instagram as well were people saying, I saw this, what the fuck was happening? So
Was
it's
there um was there room on the course? Was there any wiggle room for people saying, "Look, it was just too packed," like we see at
no,
Barcelona for it?
it didn't, well, at least from my point of view, because I was in the first wave start. No, like there was more than enough room. It's a really good bike course. Like, it's got like 600 meters of elevation. So it's, some decent little pinchy climbs. To me, there's no reason for it at all whatsoever. Like, it's completely unnecessary. And fair crack. There's plenty of guys out there who were doing the right thing. And I think there's some who just sort of like myself well, not that I did, I proactively removed myself from that situation, but some people just sort of get caught up in it and there's not really where to go. But yeah, there's some the thing I'm talking to is those people that are intentionally doing it. Like,
Mm.
you do. You can put whatever you like up on social media, but we both know, we all know what you did. So just stop it. It's not necessary. It's not in the sport spread of the sport. Um, anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest because it fucking pissed me off a lot.
What was your
Anyway,
overall time?
I don't even know, Timmy, actually, mate, I haven't checked. I don't know. So not good. Probably, I don't know, probably 5 hours or something shit like that.
Okay.
Sorry, not for you. I'm sure if it's all relative, right? For me, that's a bad time, but for others, I'm sure it's exceptional. Anyway, let's not talk about me anymore. Let's get into the news because plenty has happened. But sorry, before we do that, if you want to hear our true thoughts about people drafting, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. I'm probably going to give some more spicy. I might name some names actually because I do know some of the people that did it on the bonus episode this month. But we're also going to get into a bit more about some of the selection stuff. God knows we've got to do that probably next week. But patreon.com/talking triathlon, WhatsApp group, Facebook group, uh, bonus podcasts, all that good stuff. $5 a month. It's a bargain. We appreciate the support. I know Jimbo does. Mate, where do you want to start? I think the big thing to start with is probably going to be the British triathlon team's Olympic selection.
Yeah, the British Triathlon team have selected their athletes for the Olympics, and they've gone with Georgia Taylor Brown, Sam Dickinson, Kate Woff, Alex Yee, Beth Potter, at the expense of Sophie Coldwell and Jonathan Brownlee.
Correct. Uh, took him a while. It certainly took him a
It
while,
did.
and
It
I
did take them a while.
I would
It was
recommend Tim Hemming has put out a really great article. Check out his Twitter. Oh, it's on 220 Triathlete, whatever it's called. Sort of talking about the actual process that happened. But I'd recommend people. But yeah, it's been a few weeks, hasn't it? It's been a interesting few weeks.
Yeah, it transpires that we can now talk about it. There was some legal stuff going on in the background, some appeals happening in the background. I mean, check out Sophie Coldwell's Instagram post. She gives a brief overview of it to an extent. Um, and yeah, they've now announced it because I think they had to go back to Sophie had appealed it, and it had to go back to the selection panel after that appeal was upheld, and the selection panel then made the same decision they had in the first place. So this is where we're at. I think. I mean, the team it's a hella strong team, isn't it?
Mm. It's, I think, firstly, congratulations to the athletes that have been chosen. Is it the team I would have picked? Probably not. I think there's probably maybe one selection each we disagree on. And again, full disclosure, I probably have some bias there. But I think one of the things I think it's worth pointing out, and I just want to get sort of before we get into this discussion, is this is not the athlete's faults. This is, any sort of issues we have with this process. I place the blame squarely on the federations, and this isn't specific to British Triathlon. This is a lot of the federations, and I am definitely a bit biased here because I have had to deal with some fuckery with the federations this year uh, around Olympic selection, and uh, it's it's a shit system, and it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be them all, right? Like it's fundamentally a flawed system in my opinion. But uh, let's talk about the actual selection itself before we get into the process. Which ones surprised you? Which ones didn't surprise you? What do you think of the chance? Like, how do you sort of see
If we're going to
this?
go with my surprise, then let's start with the women first, because as you know, I was convinced they were going to pick Sophie Coldwell
Correct.
because of her sort of legacy with the British with the federation, Leeds athlete. I was just convinced they were going to pick Sophie, and so I was quite surprised when I learned that Kate was going. Not that I think they should have picked Sophie. That's not what I'm saying. I was just
Correct.
convinced that was the way they were going to go. So that's where my surprise lies. I think they've made quite a pragmatic choice there, if I'm honest. They've certainly made a choice that will benefit them on the mixed team relay. And because Kate is a fantastic athlete and she will be in the conversation in the individual, I think, on her day.
Yeah, I think the surprise for me was Sam Dickinson. I truly thought you'd probably go with Johnny Brownlee, just based on what we've said on previous episodes that Sam is an extremely strong swim biker. He's not going to feature in the individual. And I think that if you look at the two of them in the mixed team relay, Johnny, I think, has the ability to probably deliver a better result based on, and again, it's funny. I'm going to probably contradict myself here a little bit because if you look at recent form, Sam went to that Poland race, outperformed Johnny at what was in effect a super sprint distance. But I still thought, and it probably is, I guess, a bit of that. I expected there to be a bit of bias. Like I look at this whole thing, right, and there's some things that they've done here, the selectors have done, where I'm like, wow, good on them. Like they actually seem to have truly been objective. And there's other things I've seen them do. I'm like, oh, have they? But I think it's a pragmatic decision, and I can understand it. I didn't expect it in terms of Sam. And then obviously with the women, we discussed this a fair bit. I truly, honestly thought that Kate would be selected. I think for the reasons I've given previously, the strength in the mixed team relay, the fact that she's going to go into LA as a medal contender. So why not give her that experience? I feel like the biggest issue with the Olympics, and this isn't unique to British triathlon. This is just the layup, and I guess it's probably the nature of what the Olympics is that there's 55 women or men on that start list, but it is not the 55 best athletes in the world. And we've seen this a lot in there doesn't seem to be an Olympics where there isn't issues with the selection, and it's heartbreaking, man. Like I feel devastated for Sophie Colwell because, she is an incredible athlete who deserves to go to the Olympics. But again, I just feel like just because Sophie deserves to go doesn't mean that Georgia or Beth or Kate deserve to go any less either. Like it's just they had four incredible women. And yes, I'm happy that they selected Kate. I think that Kate to me is the pick, but that doesn't also mean that I can't feel really bad for Sophie and like not like the way that this system is set up. And
Yeah. It's a very strange world we live in now as well, isn't it? Where
mm,
where 10, 20 years ago, these decisions would be made and they were just made, and people would be like, oh, that's who's selected for the Olympics. Whereas now, and like there was a period of time where people always just say, oh, never read the comment section. That was kind of where we were at for a while. But now it feels like the whole world, the way we operate, is we're just sitting in one big comment section all the time. You can't not read the comments because everything's structured around what people think. And so we get this, not only do we get the athlete's reaction, but you just get this mass of like emotion from everybody, from every quarter about the selections. And some people think it's brilliant. Some people are full of hate and rage. And it's quite it's a bit much sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, I also tend to realize that, especially with this sport, memories are very, very short as well. And this will definitely
Mm.
this will be the point that they discuss it. I mean, people have already stopped talking about the US selection, for example, right? Uh, it always like these probably what you're talking to the nature of how things seem to work these days is they like the flame burns bright but doesn't burn very long.
Yeah,
Uh, the thing I guess I also just don't like is that I guess the negative impact it's going to have on athletes like Sam and Kate, who have just been selected for the first Olympics, and that experience has been spoiled a little bit, which I think is quite this is a for every athlete who ever wants like this is a lifetime goal, right? And I just think it's a little bit distasteful that they are uh I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. That there's this sort of negative spin on it a little bit where uh I don't think
yeah,
that's
and that
necessarily fair.
the negativity comes from the vagary of the selection process, in my opinion. It
100%.
doesn't, the only reason there's any negativity anywhere is because the federations give themselves so much wiggle room for these discretionary choices that it gives everybody the right to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Now everybody's got
Yeah.
the right to have an opinion, but it gives everybody this now. Actually, I think this could person, this person, this person.
Like us.
If we just had some, yeah, but if you just had some rigidity in the rules,
Yeah.
each in every Olympic cycle, the top, however many spots that federation has got, the top ranked athletes will go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
That would be all you'd need with maybe an injury clause or something, but a well policed injury clause.
Well, that's what we said. Just we were talking about this before we hit record, right? Like, and when we're sort of discussing what we are going to go through. And I mean, I just think it's as simple as the season before the Olympics. At the end of the season, the top ranked athletes from that country get the spot, and yet then the next one becomes the default. If there's an injury, maybe there's one event you have to prove fitness. I don't know, but I don't think again, like we hear this argument from the PTO a lot, right? When they were talking about T100 series, athletes will always want to compete. It doesn't matter if you pay, like it's in their nature. I struggle to see athletes who qualify at the Olympics who then just go, fuck, I'm qualified. I'm just going to sit back for the next 6 months and rock up and just have a crack. Yeah, I think one of the big things I struggle with is that there's some athletes like a Beth Potter and Alex Yee, and again, through no fault of their own, have had certainty that they're going to the Olympics for months. They know that's the event they have to focus on, where you've got Georgia, Kate, Sam, Taylor Spivey, all these athletes who've had to peak earlier, they are at a fundamental disadvantage in their preparation. That's also an error. So I think that just needs to be like again, lose the ambiguity, lose the vagueness, lose the subjectivity. This is the mark. The first people to cross it, boom. And I will tell this story, and I will try to be as vague as I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name countries or whatever. But I went through a process earlier this year where it looked like we were going to have to do an appeal against the federation. This was kind of about selection, but we hadn't quite got there because the criteria had been changed during the Olympic selection process. And I had to have I had 4 or 5 1 to 2 hour conversations with this athlete in the lead up to this. We were having like, mate, I mean, honestly, we had recordings of Zoom calls. Like, it was like one of those boards with the bits of string and everything all over it. And what it basically came down to is I had to say to this athlete, the problem you have is that these criteria are intended to be vague.
Hmm.
And what you're trying to do is expect an objective application of what is fundamentally a subjective set of rules. These things are created for the federations to be able to do this fuckery, right? That's the problem we have is we can sit here and go, oh, it should be. They know what they're doing. They engage lawyers. They engage lawyers much smarter than me and you to write these things in a way that gives them the ability to do what they want. Like that's
Hmm.
that's the reality, and that's the problem, right? It they are set up to maintain as much authority and power and discretion as possible, so that when you question it, you can't appeal it. Because, like I've been going through some of the previous cases in Sports UK or Court of Arbitration of Sport, looking at case law. I couldn't find any cases of a discretionary decision that got up because it's discretionary, right? So I don't. Yeah, it's a it's an interesting. I
It's
mean,
and yeah, it's the federations put the athletes in a position where only a couple in this case, in our case, in British Triathlon's case, Alex Yee and Beth Potter knew what they were doing, but everyone else was scrabbling to try and show form. Then you're risking injury, you're risking over racing, you're risking chronic fatigue because you're just desperate to get that spot. Um, but also then you've got, because it's so discretionary, you've got this wave of, just looking at the comments on British Triathlon's Instagram post where they go through the athletes they've selected, and it's just gutted for Sophie. Sophie was totally shafted. Can't believe Sophie's not on the team. Strong team, but shocked by the decision leaving Sophie out. No, Sophie is a huge shock. Uh, yeah, it's just, yeah, old tricks and gutted for British Triathlon. Old tricks again, gutted for Sophie, and it's just gutted for Sophie Caldwell. She deserved her place. It's no, taking Sophie Caldwell was a disgraceful decision by the committee, and they've been taking someone's dream away from them. We live in a world where everyone's just barraging with this opinion. Yeah, all right. It's gutting for Sophie, for her as an individual athlete, that she hasn't been taken. Absolutely. And she's a lovely person. But if she'd been taken, it would have been gutted for the person that wasn't taken. It's the nature of this game that we're in. So there are a certain amount of spots, there are a certain amount of athletes. Some people will be selected, others won't. I don't agree with the methodology they go about doing it. It should be totally different. But not being selected, I just don't understand this outpouring of rage we're seeing.
I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, right? We're talking about sport. There's always going to
Mm.
be winners and losers. I mean, this reminds me of a post that I saw Josh Amberger put up on his Instagram this week, and it was a photo of the lead swimmers at Ironman Cairns, and had Andrew Hurst-Turner, who's first out of the water, and the comment was something on the lines of, like, when you take the
When
lead.
old mate sprints around you for the swim bonus
Of
to lead
course
the
he
swim
fucking
out.
does. It's a race, mate. Like, that's
Yeah, are you taking the
sorry.
piss,
After
you dumb
after
fuck?
after you, Josh. Let me get the red
Yeah,
carpet out. Oh, sorry.
yeah,
After you,
yeah.
like, this. It's the nature of the beast, right? This is a competitive thing, and of
It's
course,
a
there's always going
race,
to be.
mate.
But this, it applies to this as well. Like, there's always. It sucks. It's cruel. Sport is cruel. Me and you have doing what we do. We have said this many times to athletes. Sport is cruel. People who think that they'd like to be pro athlete have no fucking idea what they're talking about. It is
Mm.
it is a brutal way to live your life. And yeah, I think just the main point I guess I want to make is that
And
this
there's nothing wrong with appealing that decision from Sophie's perspective.
100%.
I get it.
Mm,
She's put her heart and soul into this. It's her dream to go to the Olympics. There's an opportunity to appeal a decision that she didn't think was fair. Absolutely. Go for
correct.
your life. What I don't
Exactly.
like is all the social media bullshit that comes with it. I'm just not a fan.
I also, and again, I'm maybe going to get in trouble for saying this a little bit, and this isn't specific to Sophie, but this is just I don't like the this trend we're seeing with the posts talking about, like, we saw Sophie put up one, we saw Vincent Lou put up one. I get it, and it's disappointing, but I think it's like, I don't know if this is the way to do it. And it's because it always seems to be a bit like, I support everybody's being picked, but fucking this isn't right and stuff. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It puts, I
We
guess what
live in
I'm,
an age now where it's very easy to instantly put your opinion out in the moment.
I
And I
think,
think that's probably what we're seeing a little bit.
or more, yes, that's correct. And I think for me, it's more like these athletes are put in situations where this happens. And that's kind of my
Mm.
issue a bit. Like, yeah, if there had have been the decision made months ago, I mean, the decisions probably would be different. Uh, but anyway, we know we have it. We are only waiting for a few more teams. I know that New Zealand has been announced on Monday. I think Australia is not far away either. I know that South Africa is soon. Actually, I thought it would have already happened.
Mm.
It's we're getting close to seeing exactly. I mean, we've got a pretty good idea. And I mean, look, we talk about like it's just the Italian team. I don't know how much you follow that, mate, but there's been absolute outrage about one of the Italian athletes being left off the team. It seems to be every single thing. But look, enough of this.
It's a strange one. I like Johnny Brownlee's response though when he put out. He said he's just I've not been selected for the Paris 2044 Olympic Games. Tokyo mixed relay team was one of the many highlights of my career, and I still believe I could have helped Team GB win another medal in Paris. I'll be supporting the team in whatever way I can, and I really hope they go on to defend the title.
See,
That's a cool statement.
that's probably why I sort of said that, is because I saw Johnny's and then I contrast Johnny's to a lot of other athletes. And to me, I'm like, or Katie Zafira's, right? Same thing. Super classy. Not that these aren't classy, but it's just like, to me, that's it. But
But
obviously
we
it's
can't have our cake and eat it, can we? Because we
correct.
often criticize the sport for for
Yeah,
being a bit bland, not really being that
it's true.
interesting. Everyone's a mate, everyone hugs and gets on. We can't be saying that on one hand
You're a
and
very good
then
point.
not allowing people their humanity on the other hand when they come out with emotional statements and
Yeah,
disappointment.
it's true. That you make an exceptional point. And I did also like to see Vincent Louis put up a post this weekend. It was like at the end of the day, it's just triathlon. And I thought, good on you, mate. Like that's a good way of sort of putting it into perspective. At the end of the day, we're talking about swimming, biking, and running. And yeah, it's I mean, it's what we talk about every week. But look, let's put a pin in that because another strange thing happened over the weekend, or something good happened over the weekend. But then at the same time, something quite strange happened, and we're going to turn our attention to the south of France, Nice. We had Ironman France happen over the weekend where we saw Lucy Charles uh, ratify her World Championship slot after winning Kona last year. And again, Lucy won. She was excellent. Didn't really look challenged. I don't really have a lot to talk about the race in particular. I think Lucy being there was sort of the interesting point. What I do want to
I
talk
think
about,
it's probably proved beyond doubt that her decision to race Nice is probably not very sensible, though.
yeah, definitely. What an
Yeah.
idiot. What an
What a
idiot.
fool. What a fool.
I mean, it is, and again, no disrespect to the women. I don't really recognize many of the names on that list, so it's hard for me to gauge the performance.
But
Like,
we know times, don't we?
yeah.
And times matter on a course like this.
Mm. What I do want to talk about though is Anne Haug's decision to race the 70.3 age group event, I believe it was, uh, in Nice a week after she didn't race San Francisco. And the main reason I'm wanted to address this was because of what we've discussed on a previous episode was around this injury clause that the T100 has. The main point being that there's a blackout period of 15 days either side of an event if you enact the injury clause. So we've reached out to the PTO. We have had some responses, but like it doesn't really seem to be that they're particularly sure about the actual process here because of the fact that it wasn't a pro race. It was in effect a training day. But mate, like just from an optics point of view, or we call in Australia the pub test.
Yeah, it's
What do
not
you
a
think?
training day, though, is it? If you've formally entered a race and lined up on a start range, that's not a training day. In my opinion, there has to be an interpretation of the rules to a certain extent. If an athlete has said, I cannot race your actual series race because I'm going to invoke the injury clause, which allows me to not race it, but the rule is I can't race within a certain period around that. And then the week later, you're lining up to a 70.3, a formal 70.3, an Ironman race, but you're racing as an age grouper. And then you go on to unofficially win that age group. It's not like she just sort of chilled around, didn't formally win the age group because she's a pro athlete, she wasn't allowed to, but unofficially she did. She spanked everybody in that race. If I was the PTO, I'd be like, well, we have to make an example of this, don't we? We have to show that we've got some teeth here.
This is, I think, one of those examples where a situation has presented itself that they did not foresee happening
Yeah.
when they were drafting their agreements and their scenarios. I don't think they ever thought, well, what if somebody says they can't do a race and then the next week race is an age group race? Nah, that'll never happen.
That'll
Don't
never
be
happen.
ridiculous. We don't need to
And
worry
if
about
it
that.
does, it won't be someone high profile. It'll be someone further down the rankings that we can it won't cause a stir. There's that element of it for me. The element of like, right, what are you going to do about this? Because you can't, this it undermines the principle of what you're trying to do a little bit. But there's also, fuck's sake, what is wrong with these athletes, mate?
That's where I'm
Get
at.
behind this series that is trying to grow the sport for you and
Yeah.
giving you an opportunity to be part of something that could, if it works, and when I'm not saying it will, if it really takes off and catches on in the way that they envisage, then it would pay your wages and allow you to have a meaningful career that you can retire on. And we're just seeing so many athletes not buy into that
I know.
and just doing what it seems to be their best to undermine it along the way.
I don't know if it is just I don't even know. Like, is it just stupidity? Like, and I'm not talking specifically about Anna Hauk here, but it just seems like you're right. These athletes are so short-sighted that they can't see exactly what you're talking about. Like, get behind this thing. If this thing works, this could be the ticket that we've all been waiting for. But at the moment, you're right. To me, the biggest issue I have is it just really undermines the credibility of this whole thing. And not necessarily the T100 series, but it does feel like a bit of a slap in the face of the organization when we had Haug race and MN Lanzarote absolutely decimate the field. But again, it's not a pro series race; it's just a regular race. I've heard stories about that other podcasts are talking about with what happened in that female pro race. Mrs. San Francisco gets a letter because of the cold weather to do with a sickness or injury, and then a week later do another one. Like I just think to me it is the
Because
optics.
even if there isn't there shouldn't be a wiggle room around it.
Agree.
It's not like you can say I wasn't that injured. I was just worried I was going to get ill, so therefore I can go and race a warm weather race and be all right. In my opinion, you invoke the injury
You
clause.
follow it.
That comes with a rigid set of rules that say, right, I'm calling this an injury, and therefore I'm not going to race within that period before or after. And I'd be pissed, man. I'd be pissed. I
I
think the
fuck.
PTO would just be like, what the fuck do we do with this now? What are
I
you
mean,
doing?
in all seriousness, if the training day is as important to you, just go do a fucking sim. You know, like just go
I was
do
going
it.
to say exactly the same thing. If you're, you took the words out of my mouth. I almost said this a minute ago. Like, if you're going to sign up to race an age group, right, just go and do a 70.3 in your own backyard or like wherever. Just have a swim, have a bike, have a run. You don't need to do. You're Anne Haug. You don't need to do the age group race.
Uh, just
You don't need. What are you doing? Doing it for a medal and a finisher's t-shirt? What are you talking about?
imagine though. Imagine if you are one of these amateurs who
Yeah, I know.
the
That's what I said on the
semi-pro,
group.
the
Yeah.
semi-pro, and you line up and like I'm in knee 70.3 has been your this is it or you're laser
You've
focused.
been working to this for a year, and you're like, everything I've got has gone into this investment, time, money, calf fucking protectors or whatever they're called.
I've calf sleeves. I've put up a GoFundMe page to support my journey to
Yeah, yeah.
70.3,
You've
and you
got
get there.
sponsors and shit.
Yeah, I've got a
Local
five
cafes written on your
five
t-shirt.
percent discount code for a protein powder. Check my LinkedIn bio, and you line up on that start, and you stand there, and you're like,
No, you don't line up. You go to register the day before, and you know the list of names, and your surname begins with an H, and you're like, oh, for fuck's
no,
sake,
no,
that
no,
can't
you'd
be
probably
the
it
actual
can't
Anne
be
Howe.
the actual one. I love the thought they stand at the swim start, and they're like, so is this your first 70.3? Just like, no, no, I've done a few. Oh, okay. Like, what's your PP? Oh, you're like, what's your best result? Oh, I won I won the Ironman World Championships. You'd be like, what the fuck? Can you
What, the
like
age group?
this,
No, 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 no. Pro.
the amateur going, oh yeah, I won. I'm a pretty big deal. I came third at my age group at I don't know Weymouth 70.3 or something. And it's like, oh, that's pretty good. I won the Hawaiian Ironman. Or Ibiza, Ibiza the pro the PTO Ibiza race last year I did pretty well there too.
Yeah, yeah.
That to me is such a funny scenario, and you can just imagine the
It's hilarious. Yeah, amazing,
oh
amazing.
that would
But
be
it
pretty
doesn't take away how weird the
yeah.
situation is.
I mean,
But yeah,
my understanding from what the PTO has told us is that it's actually going to become a issue for the athlete board because, as I said, I don't think that they really have foreseen this. They're not. I mean, I don't see them. I don't think they want to make. You spoke about them making an example ban. I think they should. I don't think they will. I think this is probably something that they were hoping would fly under the radar a lot more. Um, but just don't do it. Like, come on. They need to. I don't know whether they need to start holding information sessions with the athletes who are contracted and be like, listen, guys, hasn't got off to probably the start we want. Let's maybe these are the do's and don'ts of the rest of you. We've got a few more
yeah,
rounds. Number one,
yeah.
don't go do a
Some
fucking
media
age group race.
training
Yeah, it's like
and
don't talk about like just these are the things we need you to do. And I think it would that would be a good step.
I mean,
um
we've said this before. I've said this. I've had this conversation with lots of people of late. It's a very individual sport. It's a sport that it's very hard to earn a living in. It's a sport that the T100 series has come along. It hasn't. It's not like a button was switched and the sport revolutionized itself, and suddenly every athlete in that series can guarantee themselves a living for the year, or the ability to race that series for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and then retire having paid their mortgage off. That's not None of that is guaranteed yet. And so it's not like the shift from this individual focus to I need to do what's good for me for this year to earn enough money to generate enough revenue. That switch hasn't happened overnight. So you've got what they're trying to achieve contrasted against a bunch of very, very individual thinking pro athletes who are totally conditioned to just do whatever is in their interest to earn as much money as possible. And those two things aren't sitting very closely or very easily together at the moment.
It's the God, here we go. It's the problem with the sport. And you've said it right. These athletes are conditioned to they have this, it's this the starving man, right? If you give a starving man a loaf of bread, he's going to eat the whole thing. He's not going to take little bites and try to ration it out. Like that's how I really see the sport because I'm not talking about necessarily the race series and that, but you look at sponsorships. How many times have we seen these big brands, these startups or whatever they are, come in, splash the cash, and again, we know how much they're paying. It's decent money, and it's the same athletes always get the sponsorship, and within a year or two, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. It's because they put in all this investment and they don't see the return. That's my concern here, right? Is the athletes firstly take it for granted that the PTO is paying them well overs what in my opinion they're worth at the moment, but then they take the piss this way. Like this will go away if this isn't proved to be sustainable. This series will go away, and as we have discussed a lot in the past, what hole is left? Like what hole is going to be left if that T100 series goes? Because there's a lot less pro Ironman races than there used to be. The pro series is fantastic. People say that might go away if this vanishes. Like where will the sport be left? And it's yeah, look, I get it, right? It probably is, you know, you see this opportunity, you got to take them, right? But you also need to think about the sustainability of your ability to earn an income and have these things because if you don't support it, it will go away. And it's yeah, man, just it's they need to. I mean, look, one of the things I spoke a lot about with a lot of pros on the weekend, a lot of pros actually. We discussed the T100 a lot and the contracts and everything because I don't think anybody up there had a contract. But we were talking about is the contract the right approach? Because from my point of view, if you look at the way athletes approached the PTO series last year, every race, mate, people were chomping at the bit to get there. And it wasn't an appearance fee, it was prize money. Like, we
Mm.
saw the depth of those fields. Like, you think about that Milwaukee race, you think about the Ibiza race, like that, it was a who's who, and it was excellent. I think that the contract, the season long narrative, as much as we've been vocal about it, right? Like, we said this is what we want. I don't think it's working. And I wonder if maybe they need to reevaluate the way they approach the contracts to maybe go, you can earn a right, but we're not going to pay you just to show up. We're going to increase the prize money again, or I don't know, but yeah, it ain't working at the moment. I
Yeah,
don't
no, I
think.
agree with you. Be interesting to see London. I think London's going to be quite the draw. I think it's going to draw people to that race.
I mean, San Fran was
Um,
awesome. It was a great race. Like it was
yeah.
that men's race was. I mean, I did actually credit where it's due. Uh, Try 24/7 put out an excellent article this week. It was they were talking about the sprint finish in San Francisco. A lot of people, obviously, sport has a short memory, talking about it being the best finish in the history of the sport. I strongly disagree with that. And what they did was they
Didn't
put
Kyle Smith put a post on Instagram afterwards saying when old mate sprints past you to take the win in a mocking way?
I did say that would have been funny, wouldn't it? Like how did yeah. Um, but they put up the five best finishes of all time, sprint finishes of all time. And I think again, obviously the biggest one in my mind is the Lisa Norden Nicholas Spirig finish in London. I think that we had the Jan Frodeno six-way race for the '08 Olympics. We had the Lauren
Zephyrus
Parker.
Beaugrand at Super League.
Didn't make the list actually.
Did it not?
Didn't.
Interesting.
Mate, the list was excellent though. But what one of the things that really made me like look up was there was a 2014 WTCS event in London. Actually, what was it called? It wasn't even called WTCS back then. Whatever it was called, the Championship Series, where Mario Mola beat Javier Gomez, Alistair Brownlee, Jonathan Brownlee, Richard Murray, and watching this race, mate, it was in the same location. I guess it was in Hyde Park, same place as the London Olympics. Fuck me, man. There must have been thousands and thousands of people watching this race. It looks so cool. And I was just thinking, we don't see this anymore. And I,
No.
I, I was like, and I think I was talking to some of the guys saying, do you expect to see this sort of crowd at T100 London? Probably not. So anyway, go check out that article. I'll maybe put it on, I'll retweet it on the Talking Triathlon account or something. But it was a really good article. I don't know why I brought it up, but anyway.
No, no, I think I love a sprint finish. I
Hmm.
really do. and I really enjoyed that the end of the T100
That
sampan for the men's race.
that Katie Gwen
I
one
thought that
was
was brilliant.
particularly excellent, wasn't it? We were there in person too. That was a good, yeah, that was
Katie
excellent.
Beaugrand, she's Cassandra. It wasn't Gwen. It was
Sorry, you're right. Yep,
Cassandra.
Katie
Yeah,
Cassandra.
it was
Cassandra won?
amazing. Yeah, I mean, me and you were on the finish line, weren't we? Either side of a barrier,
Yeah.
and they
Cassandra
both
won, right?
collapsed over the line. Now
Oh.
you're asked. Yes, you did. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent, 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 excellent. Last thing to talk about this week, we're going to talk about Ironman Cairns, the Asia Pacific Championships happened down under, part of the Ironman Pro Series. I was there on the ground. I was on a scooter going up and down the run course, giving splits to the guys. And
Was it the same day as the 70.3?
yep.
So
So
it
we,
was you fully recovered at this point. You were like, I'm not going to hospital.
yeah, I wasn't get hospital. I went to the doctors and got all the tests done. Um, we started an hour before the pros, and then I mean, I didn't see it. No, I saw some of them coming up on the bike as I was. So it's a split transition. So you start the race 30 kilometers north of Cairns at a place called Palm Cove, and then you ride
Hmm.
north. Sorry, the Ironman rides north, comes back south to transition, goes T1, back north, back, and then you pass transition, and then it's 30 kilometers down to Cairns where there's a 4 lap run course for the Ironman up and down. Again, water run course compared to Nice. Like the Nice, same concept, but this one is like windy and there's people. It's really, really cool course. But I think honestly, this is to me one of the best Ironman races, probably the best Ironman race we've seen in the series so far. I have not watched the broadcast. I've not watched a second of the broadcast. I was in person. I was out on course. They've got these like electric scooters you can hire, and I was zipping up and down that run course, giving splits to the guys, watching it unfold. But man, firstly, Matt Burton, the Australian who won this thing, what a fucking legend. This guy is a he's just one of those absolute just a fucking hard worker, Aussie, battler who's got out there and has this is a life-changing result for Matt, and he did it in such style. Uh, but the race itself, mate, was exceptional. Like truly, truly, the way the leads changed, or not the leads, the way that the athletes moved around, some of the attacks, some of the strategies. I thought this was an excellent, excellent race. Have you got the results there? I mean, I can give you. I know who came first, second, and
No,
third.
no, I've got the results here. Pro men, it was Matt Burton in first place in 7:45.24, Braden Curry in second in 7:48.59, and Mike Phillips in third in 7:49.21. On the women's side, Hannah Berry took it in 8:44.31, Lotta Wims in 8:46.53, and Kylie Simpson in 1:108.18. No, that wasn't 1:08.18. It must be 9:08.18. That's a typo.
Yeah, it was just like, we had that first lead group with some of the really strong swimmers, Josh Hamburger, Andy Horsfall Turner. And I think then the chase group had like a Braden Curry. I don't think he was with them off the top of my head. Again, I was racing at this point, but very quickly, Matt Byrne came from behind, group broke away. And I mean, Joe Skipper was there. Joe had two guys racing, Joe and Mike Phillips. Joe was again, not like six minutes back, which actually is an improvement, I think,
Yeah.
especially considering some of the swim power at the front. But that group sort of came together chasing Matt. Matt and Josh were going together, and then Matt pulled away from Josh. Josh came back to that chase group, which had Braden, Mike Phillips, a couple of others in there. And then by the end of the race, I mean, Matt Burton was just on another level. He was riding significantly faster than everybody. Then the chase group, Joe caught up to that chase group. So we had Matt Burton with like 5 minute gap, I think, off the bike. And then that chase group, Braden sort of quickly went to the front, and then it was just this back and forth with I mean, there's Arno Gilio. Sorry, I know I've mispronounced that. There was just all these sort of sorry, George Barnaby, these athletes, and just the way that Josh Amberger was up there at a point. Then he sort of fell apart at the end, but Mike Phillips fell back, ended up finishing 20 seconds behind Braden. Speaking with Mike after the race, said that if he hadn't known he was close, he probably could have attacked sooner and got second. It just was everything you want from an Ironman race, mate. Like it really, really had it all to me. And I thought it was, yeah, just exceptional. And again, it shows, I had chats with the guys from Ironman after the race, and we were talking about the Pro Series, and they were saying that like as an organization, they're loving it. And again, you don't know if it's, we tend to look at Ironman as this big sort of corporation, but then you talk to the actual people involved, and I could really pick up on their passion, how much they really love this Pro Series. And they were all just saying they think this is the best thing they've done as an organization for so long.
Yeah.
looking at the start fields, looking at the athletes who were coming to do these races. Uh, yeah, I thought it was
You're
excellent.
going to be creating more spectacles, aren't you? Less of this spread out business and more like these few key races a year are going to be more of a spectacle. Whether or not it creates a series, a competitive series to right to the end, who knows? But you are going to create more individual races that are much more interesting for those people watching it, like you were on the sidelines or trying to watch the broadcast. And for athletes like what's he called again? Sorry, ooh, I've
Who?
forgotten his name.
The winner?
The guy
Matt
who won it.
Burton? Matt Burton?
Matt Burton. Yeah, sorry. Brain went out my head then for a minute. For athletes like him to come in and, the prize purse of 28,000 US dollars, which is, a significant chunk of change. You're not seeing people scrabbling around for like a race that might get them 2 grand or 4 grand or 5 grand. The ability to come and win a race like this and put 28 grand in the bank is a big thing.
There was some funny moments I had out there spectating. I think my highlight was obviously I had Mike and Joe, and Joe needs a Kona slot. And on the last lap of the run, he went from so there was 4 slots. Matt Burton already has a Kona slot, so there were 4 slots available. So we knew that Joe needed to finish top fifth, top five, and he was in fifth for all of them. Then on the start of the last lap, Joe dropped back from fifth to sixth, and I was like, "Fuck, okay, shit." So I've gone, I've run over to the course. And he's coming past, and I screamed at him. I'm like, "You're in sixth place, mate. You're one place off the Kona slot. He's 30 seconds up." And Joe looks at me and goes, "Mate, I'm fucked." I was like, "Oh, fuck." So I got back on the scooter and I just kept riding. I'd get like a couple hundred meters ahead of him. I just did like all the tacky. Every second counts, Joe. You never know. Anything is possible. Like just giving him all this stuff. And it was funny after the race. He's like, "You fucking came up to me and you told me like, I fucking knew he was 30. The motherfucker had just passed me. Of course, I knew I was 30 seconds behind him. I just couldn't do anything about it." That was pretty funny. And then yeah, like seeing I
So he
saw
missed out on his Kona spot by one place then, yeah.
correct. So he still hasn't got a Kona slot, but for
Cool.
Joe at least, I think this was a real positive. He needed to what he basically discussed, the week leading up to races, he hadn't completed, and by complete I mean like properly finish an Ironman in over 11 months since Lake Placid last year, which he said's the longest time he's ever gone like that since he took up his pro license. So I think that this is a good, like, cool, I can do this again. Now he's doing Lake Placid, which is really exciting. And yeah, so I think he'll go there and get the Kona slot. But then, I mean, Braden Curry also has had a really rough start to the year. I know that a series of performances we probably expect better from Braden. So to see him go out there, drop the fastest run split, looked like a man on a
Yeah,
mission.
he put in a fast run, 2:41:53.
It was the best. My favorite little Braden moment was on there's a point where Hannah Berry, who won the women's race again, congratulations, Hannah. Uh, Braden ran past her, and as he's past her, he just fucking let's fucking get this, Hannah. Like, I was like, yeah, I love that. I love seeing that race mode aggression. I thought that was
Yeah, yeah.
that was really cool too. But Matt Burton never looked. I didn't think Matt would hold on. Even when I was like, oh, Matt'll come back. Matt'll come back. He didn't. He just looked rock solid all day, which was really, really great to see. And then yeah, women's race, Lottie Williams. I thought she might have it actually, but Hannah came through, and then Lauren Brandon was right up there, but Kylie Simpson did her thing and ran through to get the third place podium. So she's now taking the lead in the Pro Series. I didn't realize she's done as many races as she has, but she's been at almost every bloody, it seems like every pro race so far in the series. But uh yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this race, man. It's left me feeling quite reinvigorated about the sport. I think I sort of needed that. I needed to get back to a race like that. I haven't been to one of those races in Australia for like 5 years. So
No,
I enjoyed that
it's
experience.
I feel that a little bit. Um, it's been a while since I've been at a race atmosphere. I haven't just it's busy. Life is busy, and being that I'm not racing myself as much anymore, it's been a while since I've had that sort of experience by the side of the road,
I mean, even
and
like
it's always good fun.
yeah, and even for me, like I've been to races, but there's something I think, I've done so many races in Australia. I know so many of the same faces. Like people were like, "Oh, we thought you'd finished." It's like I've still been raced. I just haven't fucking done a race in this country. So no, it was really, really great. People will know Noel Mulkey, the triathlon personality that he is. I created a situation in which he made a bet with Joe that if if Joe swam faster than Noel. Noel just did the swim. Noel had to get an M dot tattoo, and Joe did swim faster. So Noel, I expect to see the photographic proof of your M dot tattoo any day now. Thanks.
Any specific location, or can he put it somewhere where no one will ever see it?
Well, he said he was going to get on his ass cheek, and I said, okay,
Uh,
well, I don't need to see a photo of that then. But again, it was
no,
just
good to see. Good to see this race unfold as it did. Good to see Matt win because he's had some health issues in the last few years with his foot infection and stuff, and a possible amputation. So good to see him back racing hard.
yeah. Again, I mean, the other thing I saw on Mike's social media yesterday actually is Ironman have put together a 2 hour highlight package too, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I might
Mm.
actually go and watch that. I mean, just these little things, right? We don't really see much innovation from Ironman in terms of that sort of thing. So again, the team at Ironman, they did an excellent job. They were really great, and they seem really optimistic about this. So that's a good thing as well, I think. But yeah, that was the Ironman Pro Series. So it's all good. But yeah, mate, we've got a
Good work,
few
mate.
few interesting weeks coming up, as we sort of touched on last week. We will both be at the T100 in London in what, like a month, just over a month at this point. How's the
Yeah.
training going for that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm cruising about, mate. I'm cruising about. I'm taking that race very gently. I'm there for the experience, man. I ain't racing that shit.
Good,
I
as you
am,
should.
I am swimming, and then I'm going to ride my road bike nice and gently around the course, and then I'm going to have a bit of a run.
Crack the run. Absolutely rip that run.
Yeah, that's my plan.
That was the one disappointing thing for me on the way. I really thought I would, because I'm running so well at the moment. I thought I'm gonna fucking crush this run, and no, wasn't meant to be.
But no, my training's actually going really well in terms of what I'm doing. I'm doing all the training I'm set. This week's been a bit of a clusterfuck, with a 17-hour drive on Monday back from France, and then just the two busiest days I've ever had in my life. So I haven't done much this week yet, but I will reinvigorate myself tomorrow. But yeah, my training's going all right, man. What I do need to alter is my diet.
I think we all need to do a little bit of that. Have you got the white tri-suit sorted? Did Christian Blumenfeld, 2021 WTCS
I'm
World
gonna have
Champion,
to
get you a
I'm
suit?
gonna have to pull out an old tri suit from back in the day. I don't know what I'm gonna wear.
The white one.
I'm I'm toying with even just doing like, different sets of clothes for each discipline.
Christian Blumenfeld, we know you listen. We know you got all the sponsors. We see all your goddamn content clips and your podcasts and everything. I know you used to be our number one guest, but you're too cool because you got your own podcast now. Talk to your sponsors, talk to Surpass, get James Bale an all white tri suit. I don't want the black modesty patch around the groin region. I want James to be wearing a pure white tri suit. That is a request I have for you, Christian Bloomfield. I'm calling you out. Make it happen. Help us out. That would be nice.
And we'll see if that develops into anything, shall we?
Did you see Aaron Royals tri suit that he wore at the San Francisco
No.
race? You just look it
Oh,
up.
I haven't seen that, but I saw I was a big fan of Martin Van Riel's weird black codpiece thing on his pink tri-suit.
Do you see the thing he put up where it was like it was him, Carl Smith, and Rico Borgen? They were the pink, black and white Power Rangers. I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Well, Jimbo.
I like the video of him at the end as well, where he just went and sat down
Oh
in
yeah, that was an
in
error,
his
wasn't it?
bomb. It's
Oh,
just grim, just like mate, and you're watching him do it. You're like, don't sit there, don't sit
done.
there. All right, he sat
Uh,
there.
he sat there. If people want to find out more, Jimbo, about talking triathlon, where do they need to go?
Yeah, if you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at tford14 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Insta and at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. If you join up to the Patreon group, you will get access to the monthly bonus episode, all the social groups, and we'll put you in the famous WhatsApp group, which is ever interesting.
We've also got YouTube. Again, thanks to everybody who's gone over there and subscribed. If you haven't
Yeah,
already, please.
quite a few views last week on our YouTube because Tim O'Donnell posted it on his page, and I think that fed some traffic our way.
It did. So if you want to see this magic happen, you don't just want to hear it, head to YouTube. We would really appreciate it. It's also a really good place. There's been some excellent discussions. Although I think somebody didn't realize they were talking to me because they were talking, they're like, you need to go watch. It's like, didn't I say this exact thing on the episode you're watching? But yeah, it's a really good place to interact, give us your thoughts. Yeah, it's probably the place I check the most for conversations about the
Yeah, in terms
episode.
of chatting, yeah, we've also got a Strava group as well. If you're a member of the Patreon, you can join the Strava group. I administer that, so
You
I'll
need to make me
be
an
very
admin
careful of it.
so I can change the logo.
Do you not like the picture? It's me and you, isn't it?
No, we need to have the Talking Triathlon brand in, mate. It's This show isn't
Oh,
about us. It's about the
I quite like
community.
that picture.
It's a
I
good
quite like
picture.
that picture. Yeah.
We'll also be at T100 London, as we sort of said. So I know a few of the patrons are planning on being there as well. But if anybody is going to be in London at
Yeah.
the T100, let us know.
We'll probably record the podcast before we go and then record one afterwards. And then it'll give us time when we're there to just catch up with whoever's around and have a bit of a social.
Exactly. And then I'm going to Paris for the Olympics. I've got my tickets and everything booked, which is exciting. I'll be there for the men's and women's triathlons. Looking forward to that. It's like just over a month, man. I can't believe it's so
Yeah, man.
soon.
It's going to be over like that.
I got in trouble for saying that I think Cassandra is going to win a gold yesterday. So I need to apparently stop saying that I think people are going to win because I might jinx them. I don't want to do that.
That's not real, though, is it? No, that doesn't exist. That's like saying luck isn't a thing. It's like shit just happens. You can't jinx people. It doesn't. It's not a thing.
Fair enough. Well, Jimbo, we'll talk
Cassandra's going to
next
win the
week.
gold.
I think so too. So, Alex, thanks
All
for this.
right.
We'll talk to you next week.
Cheerio.